They're going to run it. And in the biggest moments, Saquon Barkley said he wanted the ball. Touchdown Giants. And they're within 2. Trying to communicate through the noise. Hurts, slant, Brown, lunge, touchdown Philadelphia. A.J. Brown snatched it out of the air for the score.
He gets everybody up there, hoping that one guy gets open.
Here they come. Heineke able to get rid of it. McLaurin makes the catch, breaks 3 into the end zone for a Washington touchdown.
Frisco, Texas. The place the Cowboys call home.
On through the second quarter. Second down and 4. Prescott. End zone touchdown, Dallas. Schultz's second of the night.
He earned it. Can he get it? He's got it. Touchdown, Dallas.
I mean, this is really impressive. I did not.
Prescott fires. Caught. Lamb. Touchdown.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you guys are watching this, whenever you guys are listening to this. And damn, did that take a lot out of me. Once again, it is time for another episode, another division preview from the Next Up Fantasy Show. It's your boy, Will, as you can see. And as weird as it sounds, I'm actually pretty pumped and pretty ecstatic for this actual episode because this is probably going to be the episode that has the most ampness, the most hype, the most perspective, to be perfectly honest. But who am I going to get some of these perspectives from? Let's go ahead and actually go to Mike T. Mike Thesis, how are you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing wonderful, man. I'm excited to be here. NFC East, the moment I've been waiting for, the time I've been waiting for. I have some interesting things to say about each team, but it should be really exciting. And I have my championship belt. I'll bring that out later, but you'll see.
Bring that championship belt out. I need that. And coming from us from the East Coast, oh, there he is. Coming up from the East Coast, after feeling so much better right now, Mr. Manny B. And Manny, how you doing? How you feeling, man?
I'm great. I'm back. NFC East, baby. There's only one team that's coming out of this division, and we already know who it is. Just how good. How many games are they going to win? I'm just going to point it out there. I don't know who I'm going to pick, or I'm not sure, but we'll see. We'll see.
CUP. Yeah. Okay. So those who actually saw that on the YouTube, you saw a nice little surprise there. But those who aren't watching it on the YouTube, why not? We're practically everywhere now. Check us out. YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, Next Up Fantasy. Information is right over here.
You're going to want to watch the YouTube because Mike is a stud. And if you haven't seen Mike in person, you need to look at that stud muffin over there.
Hey, I mean, I'm here. I'm visible. I'm on YouTube. Come check me out.
Come check him out.
Check me out.
I mean, I don't know what else to say. Me, on the other hand, I'm kind of on trash mode right now, but that's okay because I'm still fly. So today, once again, just like what everybody else is saying, today is going to be the NFC East. And ladies and gentlemen, this division last year was a rarity where all 4 teams actually ended up being at the 500 or higher as far as win percentage. And there was a time where it kind of felt that all 4 teams could actually make the playoffs. I'm not sure if that's actually possible, but it damn near happened. even giving the last place team some kind of love, some kind of recognition. And that's who the hell we're going to be starting with today. We're going to be first starting off with the Washington Commanders, which I am still not accepting them being called the Washington Commanders. I actually like the Washington football team a little bit better. It was a little bit more professional. It was a little bit more like we're the football team and you're not. But it's just a shame that they can't play like they were a football team. So that being said, there wasn't really that much departures, or excuse me, that many additions from this team, which is somewhat surprising. But as far as the departures, to me, they lost a couple of decent players. Well, one anyway, in J.D. McKissick, who is usually a flex darling for all of us, who is a really great pass catcher, and I don't think he's still signed, honestly. And Carson Wentz, who we just saw this morning post a picture of him in every single one of his teams that he played for, saying that, hey, I'm ready to sign for somewhere else. Come get me. But but it was creative. But like I think there was a funny message that I saw on Twitter with that picture. Someone ended up saying Carson Wentz looks like a parlay with all the teams that he had on there. I was a fan of that. So Manny, since I'm actually talking about everybody, just give me a little perspective, if you can, a little bit of thought about this team, the Washington Commanders. What insight do you have about them? What are your thoughts?
Well, their defense is good. Offense is butt cheeks. They have Sam Booty Cheeks Howell as their starting quarterback. North Carolina alum there. How'd that work out with Mitch Trubisky, Bears fan? Their receiving core is pretty good. Jahan Dotson, I think, is a stud. Scary Terry, another stud. And I also like Curtis Samuel. So their wide receiver depth is pretty good. It's the problem of me getting the idea that Sam Howell's the starting quarterback. But I guess in their defense, if he were to go down or not work, Mr. Reliable Jacoby Brissett is the backup. And I think he's good enough if he does become the starter to make me feel it makes me feel a little bit more positive to get Scary Terry where he's drafted, or Jahan Dotson. But with Sam Howell, I'm a little nervous.
Mike, your thoughts?
Yeah, well, the Washington Commanders. You guys know I love to talk about people that I know. And I'm a teacher, for those who don't know. Before I taught, I used to work at a warehouse. And when I worked at that warehouse, I knew a guy named Dave. Whatever you're doing out there, Dave.
Hey, Dave.
Hope you're doing well. Everyone say hi to Dave. Dave's a good guy. All right. Dave's a really good guy. And I knew Dave, and I ended up talking to Dave. We talked about football, and Dave ended up telling me that, lo and behold, he was a Washington Commanders fan. And now keep in mind, Dave, he has a family. Dave's actually a minister. Like, Dave's a pastor. Like, I really, really respect Dave. And I like Dave. So this is for Dave. With all due respect, Dave, the Washington Commanders are trash. So besides maybe wanting Jahan Dotson, he's pretty good. Like he said, like Manny was saying, the receivers are great. Scary Terry is an awesome receiver. Ohio State, let's go. I mean, I'm sorry that he has to be there, but I mean, hey, it doesn't diminish his abilities. But yeah, besides the receivers, I'm not interested in the running backs. I'm not loving the quarterback. And the defense is awesome. So if you play in a league that has IDPs, hey, go get a defender from Washington. But I will say, if you are drafting and at the end of your draft, you have a bunch of Commanders on your team, you have failed. Okay? You don't want that. Okay? So with that being said, good receivers, not really impressed by anything else on that team.
Okay, so this is how I'm going to do the question for this team. Likely a lot of these players are going to go in the back end of the draft, but there's like one or two that's going to be still more in the front as early as the 4th round. So I'm curious as far as people's thoughts on just say yay or nay as far as if you're going to draft these people. I'm just going to say 4 people. This one should be a little bit more obvious. Terry McLaurin.
Yay.
Manny?
Depends.
Smiles?
No, I'm not. I understand what he's saying. I'm not
Okay.
targeting him, but if he fell into me at the right situation,
Okay,
then yeah,
okay,
we'll take
we'll do it that way. If he fell to you and their current ADP, or if he's behind on that ADP, are you drafting him?
So he's going 49 overall.
Right.
Wide receiver 20th. If I could get him as my third wide receiver, then yes. He's not my site. I'm not drafting him as a wide receiver too.
Okay. A late round pick in this case, Jahan Dotson.
I like Jahan Dotson, so I think he can produce where he's at. I think he can produce just as much as Scary Terry. If Sam Howell's the quarterback, that's what scares me. Is I don't know how Sam Howell's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, they lost Carson Wentz, but if Jacoby Brissett's the quarterback, then I'll have a little bit more faith. I just don't know at this point. But yes, if Jahan Dotson's there and I can put him in a bench spot, like deep roster, then yes.
Mike?
I like Jahan Dotson too. I think for where you can get him, he's actually pretty productive. So I would have no problem drafting him at the right place in the draft.
Okay, so this is where it gets a tad bit more interesting. Brian Robinson.
I don't want Brian Robinson. Good player, but he's not somebody that I will be targeting.
Benny?
He's RB 34, and there's players that are around there. Brian Robinson is the starter, but to be going over 95 overall is Jamal Williams, and with the news with Alvin Kamara, I would like that. But yeah, in this area, Brian Robinson is like the only like true starter available. So maybe.
And last but not least, Antonio Gibson.
I actually like Antonio Gibson, but I just don't think that the team thinks highly of him or as highly of him as I think. So because he's playing kind of a backup role to Robinson, I mean, he'll get some touches, but he's kind of playing a backup role.
Mm-hmm.
I probably would leave him alone in the draft, personally.
I'm not drafting him at all. He's actually projected higher than Brian Robinson. He's going RB 33. So I don't like the split back idea around the 7th, 8th round when I could get a wide receiver that I like a little bit better. Antonio Gibson is going 2 spots ahead of Jahan Dotson. I would rather have Jahan Dotson.
Not Robinson, but Gibson is actually an interesting one for me. I think he's the only person that out of those 4 that I would have some kind of interest in. Terry McLaurin, if I can get him a little bit later, then yes, I would jump on him. But just like what everyone else is saying, Sam Howell, just Sam Howell, man. Like,
he could be a stud. I mean,
I was about to say there's actually nothing wrong with him, but it's just the fact that can you, just like I said on the quarterback video, can you really trust him to consistently be your starter on a week-to-week basis for fantasy? There's nothing against the guy, but it's something that I genuinely can't see.
So another fun fact, Will and Mike, remember how I used to do those strength of schedules?
Mm-hmm.
He's got the hardest. He's 32nd overall for strength of schedule for a quarterback. Fun fact.
Well,
that's not going to help him.
If there's any positive, it's the fact that they're going to be from behind and they're going to be passing a lot. So at least there will be volume. But they shocked us last year, so let's see what happens this year for them. So next team is probably the surprise of the division last year, and that's mainly because of the fact that they did get a new coach. They were a team that I was somewhat interested in, but like the problem was I didn't know how they were going to get to where they needed to get, and that's the New York Giants. They were 9-7 last year. Once again, everyone was 500 or over. The additions on the team include Darren Waller, who is kind of interesting to me. James Robinson doesn't really matter that much anymore, especially with Saquon actually re-signing. Jamison Crowder, who could be interesting, but I don't think I can actually see him in a very known role. And the key departures is just Kenny Golladay, who was just a mess. Like, he got all his money, and then from there he just ended up leaving. And get your money, man. But like, You're still unsigned from what I recall. So try to get a job too at the same time. Daniel Jones, if I recall, he was a top 12 quarterback last year in fantasy. He actually increased and improved his running, especially that 38, especially that one where he had it all to himself. There was nobody else around him going for the touchdown, and he trips. He just trips. And that's Daniel Jones, ladies and gentlemen. But there's some kind of positivity, especially with the coaching that made the team a little bit more improved last year, which got them to that 9-7 record. There's still like some mediocre questions, like where is Daniel Jones going to get the love as far as like who he's passing to? Like, of course, we got Darren Waller, Darius Slayton, Sterling Shepard, I believe, are both still there. To be perfectly honest, anyone outside of that, I wouldn't even know who would be there or who would be reliable enough. On paper, they have an interesting trio if you add Jameson Crowder, but whether or not if I could see it make it work is the only problem that I have with this team overall. Mike, your thoughts?
New York's an interesting team to me because I actually respect New York. My story for New York is my father's actually a New York Giant fan. Shout out Hackensack, New Jersey. Your boy's doing okay. But New York, they are actually, to me, not trash. And I'll explain to you why. Daniel Jones, you spoke on Daniel Jones. I actually like Daniel Jones. Now, Daniel Jones isn't somebody that I would target. He's not the kind of quarterback that's going to win you your league per se. But I do think that he's improved every year. And I do think that with his running ability, there's something there with Daniel Jones. So if you're like in a league where you play two quarterbacks, I'm in like a weird, funky league where we do that, then he's a great option, I feel, for quarterback number two on a roster that allows that. But if you're playing in a standard league, he's somebody that, let's say you miss on some other quarterbacks, he's somebody you can take a flyer on and he might produce. Like I said, he was quarterback 12 last year, so he can produce. Then you have Saquon. Saquon's a stud. I would definitely target Saquon. Now, you're going to have to give up a lot of draft capital to get him, but I do think that he's worth it. I think that Saquon is a top 3 back, definitely top 5. And then you have Darren Waller as well, who is a top option at tight end. There's not too many tight ends who are better than him. Like we said in our last video, we were talking about tight ends, and we said, once you get past Andrews and Kelsey and Goddard and those kind of guys, right. I think Waller's a pretty good person to pick up. So I do think that the Giants do have more weapons than the Commanders. I do think that they're a better team as far as their roster goes for fantasy, as opposed to the Commanders. I also like Jalen Hyatt. Let me throw that out there, but he's a rookie, so we don't really know exactly what we're going to get. I do know that he's super fast, and I do know that he is he's a speedy option, something that they haven't had in a while. So with that being said, I think there's a couple guys in the Giants you can go after, but I mean, there's probably like 2 or 3 dudes I would target.
Interesting. Manny, thoughts?
I don't like the Giants, so I'm opposite of Mike as well. I think they got lucky again for their schedule. The NFC East had an easy schedule last year. Mike, right. You kind of know that. Everyone that they played were they kind of got lucky. And we'll talk more about it for the division winner because I feel like they had the cakewalk to the Super Bowl. But I guess, okay, so Daniel Jones, strength of schedule is going to be second hardest, 31st overall. So I don't trust him this year. He had an easy schedule last year. A lot of people forget about like looking at the schedule that was in play from last year and the teams that they were playing because it could, boost up your stats a little bit.
Right.
The depth chart that I'm looking at, this is bad. We're in August 6th. Isaiah Hodgins is their 1 wide receiver starter. Darius Slayton and Paris Campbell are their 3. I'm not getting any of these guys. They actually have Sterling Shepard as behind Darius Slayton. And they have Jamison Crowder as a 4th option. They also have Cole Beasley. They drafted him or they picked him up as well. But I do like Darren Waller as a tight end because Daniel Jones, I feel like it's going to dish it out to Waller a little bit. But besides Waller and Barkley, I'm not going for any of them.
Yeah, I was about to say that. I was about to say that too. As far as Paris Campbell also being picked up, Cole Beasley also being picked up for the wideouts. So they do have options, but it's just whether or not if the Giants actually believe in them.
What's that tell you, though? They drafted all these vets. They don't trust any of their wide receivers right now.
If you're relying on Paris Campbell or Cole Beasley to win you or to do anything for you, I think you're going to be disappointed.
That don't play. Unless it's best ball again, which I want us to do a best ball team, and we might actually do a video about that a little bit later. So stay tuned. Now, once again, we talked about Saquon Barkley. Like Saquon Barkley, I remember after the week 1 was finished last year, we hyped him up a lot, saying that he was back because he had a really strong week 1. Week 2, well, pretty much beyond then he was fine. He was just fine. He wasn't the greatest, but he got you by for a running back 1. So one of my questions in regards to that is, can you see him repeating as far as being a running back 1? Because we see him as I believe he's in like the top 5 for sure, but I believe the top 3 as far as running backs in ADP as far as being picked up. And there's still, just like what everyone else has with Christian McCaffrey, among other running backs, he also has a injury history. So that being said, do you guys have an issue with Saquon being picked up that early at all? Let's go with Manny.
I actually, looking at the average draft position of now on the back end, I'm not picking him up. I won't see him on my roster because there's 2 running backs that are going behind him that I would rather pick over him. Right. And that's Bijan Robinson and Nick Chubb, because Nick Chubb is Mr. Consistent. Bijan could be a generational talent. I've seen him at Texas. The dude's a monster. You also have Jonathan Taylor on that back end too. So depending on where he goes, I just think those 3 will outproduce Barkley. I don't trust. I'm saying this as I'm saying I'm going to pick Bijan Robinson, but I don't trust Giants offense and like their defense. Like, let me look. Barkley is number 29th overall for strength of schedule as a running back. So third hardest schedule for a running back. So I take that into consideration drafting in the first round. Bijan's 11th overall. I would take that in a heartbeat. Even though Falcons are going to have a problem scoring 2, their whole division's trash though. So it's going to be a mess in that division. Look what Christian McCaffrey did with the Panthers. I could see that with Bijan.
Now, just a real quick, you talked about Saquon being at the back end of 1, but if he falls to you in the second round, would you pick him up?
Yeah, second round, I would pick him up. I would pick him up over – sorry, Mike. I would pick him up over Tony Pollard and Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs, yeah.
That's fair. I doubt he'll be in the second round, but like if you're pick number 10, then you have a better chance of picking him up if you pick somebody else first, like a Bijan Robinson or whatnot.
The problem with that is like his ADP is high, and if you're in kind of a more advanced league, they won't care about ESPN or Yahoo ADPs. But when people see him like at the top and you pick below, someone's going to pick Barkley because they think it's a steal.
I mean, worst case, just like you said, the other people around, like a Tony Pollard, or the Nick Chubb, things like that. Those are good options too. Mm-hmm. If you're picking running back in the second round. Mike, what are your overall thoughts? Would you end up picking up Barkley at around that time?
Yes, I would go for Barkley at that time. I hear everything that Manny's saying. I'm not going to disagree. I'm an Ohio State fan, but I was born in Texas. I love the Longhorns. I really do. I pay attention to them. But with that being said, I've probably seen every single game that Bijan Robinson has played. He's a great player. He's a generational talent, but he's not Saquon Barkley. I think that, like Manny was saying, it's just hard to predict because both the teams, their offenses have kind of don't leave much to the imagination, right? So
Right.
they're gonna be the focal point of those offenses. So it's hard to say what's gonna happen. So I do agree with Manny, like where the value is, Bijan's probably your better bet. But I do think Saquon's a better player. So if you want to go ahead and grab Saquon, I don't think it'll be an issue. If you do that, I think you'll have one of the better backs in the league. I think you'll be okay in your draft.
Good stuff. Saquon has failed me on multiple occasions, including in your league, Mike, where I just had like such a high expectation of him. But of course, we can't predict injuries. There's no possible way. But Saquon Barkley is not that bad. Is not a bad player at all. We know his upside. We know he does occasionally catch. He can be a pass catcher too. So would I end up picking him up in that region? I would say, I'm gonna say yes. I'm gonna say yes to that, because if I'm that late and all the wide receivers that I know that I want are not going to be picked up or are already picked up, then I could feel pretty confident that Saquon could be a good anchor for me as far as being my first round pick if he's there. Second round if he's there, then of course no question. Everyone should pick him up in the second round. There's no doubt about that. So I already showed. Okay, so for this next team, usually we go by the order of worst to first from the previous year, but I feel really generous this day. Feel really good about today, since I knew that both Manny, both Mike, they're gonna bring it for Dallas. If you saw the intro, then you saw how much that Dallas is going to bring it. I'm going to decide this time that we're going to save them for last. So we're going to move on in this case to the actual division champs, Philadelphia Eagles, 14-3, which is pretty solid. They added running back weapons as if they needed it in the first place. I forgot to actually add in the fact that they lost Miles Sanders, which was kind of important there. But they did end up adding not only DeAndre Swift, but also Rashad Penny. Marcus Mariota, as you can see, got signed by the Eagles, and he's pretty. I'm not gonna say he's irrelevant. I'm gonna say that when he was with the Raiders the year before as a backup, he did good as a backup. When Derek Carr was down and out, he just didn't do well in Atlanta. That's all. But as much as these two despise this team, I'm pretty sure that there's at least an agreement that they stacked up this year, and not only offensively but also defensively. So there's a lot of expectation for them to pretty much repeat the offensive prowess that they had last year. You really can't go wrong with a multitude of these players. But of course, with all the rushing, with the huge rushing attack, there is questions about who to actually trust. Because if it's not Penny, then it's DeAndre Swift. If it's not DeAndre Swift, they still have Boston Scott. If it's not Boston Scott, then it could be Jalen Hurts himself. So that being said, and AJ Brown's dope too. So with that being said, Mike, give me some insight generally about your thoughts on this Eagles team.
What can be said that hasn't been said, right? So you have Philly, the division champs from last year. Some of the most thorough people I know are from Philadelphia. So with that being said, I have to give them love for that. Never been to the city, hoping to go soon. And when I do go out there, I believe I'll be wearing every single piece of cowboy apparel that I have. So you'll know when I'm out there, because you'll see. But that being said, no. In all seriousness, the Philadelphia Eagles are stacked. I would love to hate on them, but I really can't. I wouldn't be doing justice to fantasy football and the digital sport that we all love. So with that being said, I know if you've seen my man Will's tier show, he put Jalen Hurts on God tier. I don't know about all that, but I don't know about all that, but he's really, really good. He's really, really good. I would definitely target him in my drafts, especially if you're in a league that rewards rushing. After that, you have A.J. Brown, you have Devontae Smith, probably the second best, maybe third best 1-2 punch in the league. I would say the best 3, but I'm not going to give Quez Watkins that kind of love yet. So I would say with those, not yet. So with those two, they're good to go. Running backs, well, I mean, you have Swift and Penny and Scott, and all these guys can play. So yeah, I mean, and then you have Goddard as well. So as much as I would love to hate on the Eagles, and as much as I hate everything that is Philadelphia, not the city, just the team, I can't do that. And if you're in a position to where you are going to to draft any of these guys with their current ADPs for the most part, I think you'd be smart to go ahead and do that. So that's what I have to say. As much as I wanted to come in here and just hate on Philly, I really can't do it. So good team, good players, go get them.
Real quick question: when you go to Philly, are you running up the stairs like Rocky?
I will definitely run up the stairs like Rocky, but I will be doing that once again in an Emmitt Smith jersey and a Dallas Cowboy fitted.
I think that should be on everyone's bucket list. Like run the Rocky stairs and then just jump around like he did and just shadow box at the end. Good stuff. Okay, here we go. Manny.
No, I think the Eagles team is good. They were 14-3 last year. Like I said, though, they had an easy schedule. I'm just going to point it out there. It was pretty cake. The NFC Championship game, they played Christian McCaffrey as the quarterback. So the game before that, they played the Giants, which I told you is not that great.
Right.
And they had when they beat the Cowboys, who was the quarterback, Mike? We had our backup in.
I believe it was Cooper Rush.
It was
Cooper Rush is doing good, right? But still our backup. We beat them with their backup too. So we split with them. They are a good team. A.J. Brown's is a stud. I would pick up A.J. Brown when you can. I'm not touching any of the running backs, unlike Mike. There's too many of them, and you don't know what the timeshare is going to be. DeAndre Swift gets hurt every year. I know this because I'm in the Michigan area, and the Lions were excited to get rid of him when he's a stud, but he can't stay healthy. You also have, I know you guys didn't bring it up, but you have Kenneth Gainwell as well.
Yeah, I was about to say Kenneth Gainwell's still there.
So he's back up. Devontae Smith is another good option. And Jalen Hurts, yeah, they're all good options. But I got a fun fact for you guys. This is more towards our divisional picks. Since 2004, there's never been a back-to-back in the NFC East champion. Just want to point that out there. 2003, 2004 was the Eagles, and ever since then, it's been someone else that's won the division. No one's won back-to-back. There is such thing as Super Bowl hangover as well. The team that loses the Super Bowl, look it up, most of the time doesn't even make the playoffs, or if they do, they go out first round. So I just want to point that out. I know they're a good stacked team on paper, but I wouldn't be surprised if someone sneaks in and becomes the NFC champion or NFC East champion.
Cincinnati was close last year to going back to the Super Bowl after losing. So that would have been interesting if they even did it. But kind of the question I was actually going to ask was, it sounds like it was almost answered already, but I'll go ahead and ask it anyway. Out of the running back carousel, is there any of these players that you're going to actually end up drafting, and if so, who? I'll actually answer it myself because I don't think I really talked about it as much. I like Rashad Penny out of all of them. Nothing wrong with DeAndre Swift. Nothing wrong with Kenneth Gainwell. Nothing wrong with Boston Scott. We all know and have seen that all four of them have some, or can always show that they have something to prove when they're the majority. But again, it does seem like that they are going to be in a merry-go-round as far as who's going to be the hot hand. It's a hot hand contest, to be honest. But I don't think that those players who usually have somewhat of an ego when it comes to wanting the ball and things like that. I don't think they care. I think their bigger focus this year is actually just getting into a championship. And if there's anyone that can do it, if there's anybody that can do it, it would definitely be the Eagles in this case. So why not for them? But for me, it would personally be Rashad Penny.
Can I counter that?
Sure.
So Rashad Penny is a big back, right? So he's there for third and short.
Mm-hmm.
The problem with the Eagles is if they're third and short, they're just going to QB sneak it because they can get it 10 out of 10 times because their line's huge. So you're kind of taking that away. At the 1 yard line for a touchdown, it's going to be Jalen Hurts that scores, not Rashad Penny. So you're going to miss out on those opportunities. That's why I'm nervous about getting any running back.
I don't disagree with that, but I'm also kind of thinking about it's not going to be Jalen Hurts all the time. If that's the case, Jalen Hurts will have like 25 rushing touchdowns, maybe.
I mean, last year it was. Every time it was 4th and 1 or 3rd and 1, they did a QB sneak, and no one could stop it.
But you know what, though? Like, Miles Sanders was not – he's good. We all know he's good. But Miles Sanders kind of had a bad ratio as far as converting those 3rd and 1s. So I'm not brushing off your statement, but I am kind of saying that they were kind of in a worse situation last year compared to where they are this year. And a Rashad Penny, even a DeAndre Swift, who kind of has a little bit of bulk in him too, is a better option than Miles Sanders. They're definitely not going to give that to Boston Scott or Kenneth Gainwell on a consistent basis. So I don't disagree with you. It's just that's a
mm-hmm. No, I just want to throw it out there because there's going to be people that are wondering about drafting them, and I just wanted them to be wary that Jalen Hurts does go for it majority of the time as a QB sneak. So don't get frustrated when it's at the 1 and you see Kenneth Gainwell out there or Rashad Penny and they're lining up as a QB sneak.
I could see, if anything, I could see Penny as a flex or maybe even a running back 2 if he's there, but it all depends on how I draft. Let's get to Mike. What are your thoughts on, if any, running back?
I think Philadelphia is a really smart team, and I think what they pretty much did is they got 2 running backs who complement each other very well. If I could have a decision out of those 2 running backs, what I would pick, they're both injury prone, so that's not going to really be a factoring thing in my opinion. But I would probably take Rashad Penny as well. I do think Rashad Penny has a little bit more upside than DeAndre Swift, only because, like Will mentioned, he's just a bigger back and he's able to get those tough yards. It might be a little tougher for DeAndre Swift, to get.
You didn't pick him, so you can call him whatever you want. Manny, your thoughts?
Well, I was just saying, I just kind of told my thoughts about I don't want any of them. I'm not going to draft any of them just because of that. I don't trust them.
And Manny, I mean, I'll ask you if we have this information. If we don't, it's fine because I didn't bring any notes. So hey, it is what it is. But what are their current ADPs? Like who's going where?
Who you want?
Let's say Swift and Penny.
All right, so Swift is RB 29th.
Mm-hmm.
And in front of him is Javonte Williams, David Montgomery, Delvin Cook. And then under him is Alvin Kamara, Brian Robinson, James Cook.
Okay.
And for Penny?
Yeah.
Penny is running back 37. Then you have above him Jamal Williams, Khalil Herbert, Antonio Gibson, and below him is Devon. I think he's a rookie for the Miami Dolphins. Zach. These are way down from ADP though. Zach Charbonnet and Samaje Perine.
Okay. So with that information, I'm sorry, Will. With that information, I would still target Penny. The only player I'd probably take before Penny would be Jamal Williams, just because of the current situation in New Orleans.
That's surprising that Penny is before or is after DeAndre Swift in this situation, but I guess everyone wants to try to get the attention of Swift based on his pass catching abilities, which is actually all right. I don't have a problem with it, but I know what I personally prefer. And that'll be based on the ADP. I would probably prefer Penny on that in this case. So I guess that'll be my answer. Or I already said that as my answer. But
I agree.
and now, the main event. What Mike has been waiting for. What Manny has been waiting for. What Mike's banner in the background has been waiting for. What his championship belt has been waiting for. Ladies and gentlemen, Dallas Cowboys. Dallas Cowboys, they were 12-5 last year, which was good for second place. A couple of key departures include your boy Zeke Elliott and Dalton Schultz, but also some interesting pickups in Brandon Cooks, Ronald Jones, who actually is not suspended. Is he hurt or suspended?
He's suspended for PEDs.
And it's only 2 games, right?
Yeah.
So PEDs is 2 games now?
I guess so. I mean, better to take roids than to gamble, right? I mean, the way the league is set up.
Apparently, that's kind of how I was looking at it. And in a running back, I'm actually interested in even before the Ronald Jones information, Deuce Vaughn. So I'm going to be asking you guys about him, but overall, I'm just going to admit it. Like I talked to Manny and Mike about before. As a 49er lifer, I despise these Dallas Cowboys.
We don't like
there's nothing in my system that says, yes, I will root for the Dallas Cowboys by any means necessary. However, in fantasy football, when it comes to the type of players that they actually have, I can legitimately respect the hell out of them for having a decent squad. Their defense got stepped up this year. A lot of people got re-signed over there, and even Stephen Gilmore got picked up over there on the defensive side, and that's just the defensive side. On the offensive side, Tony Pollard, we saw him do the most actually in his role. The only question that I have is whether or not if he can actually do that in a full-time role. Still good, but still questioning it. Excuse me. Brandon Cooks, Michael Gallup, and CeeDee Lamb, which is a very interesting trio for wideouts. I'm still a smidge bit concerned. I'm less concerned than I was for the past year or two as far as CeeDee Lamb being a number 1. But I think overall he did improve himself to the point where I can trust him a little bit more. So I wouldn't mind picking him up late first. I'm pretty sure not late first, early second. I think he's in right now. He was a steal late second, early third last year, but early second now. I might be comfortable enough to stick with him. Michael Gallup, if I need a flex, I can rely on him. And I'm probably the last person that should even be talking about the Cowboys right now. So who wants to be the first one up to bask in the glory that is Dallas?
Let Mike because me and Mike talked off screen. So Mike, you could go ahead first.
Let me bask in the glory that is Dallas.
Wait, we need to flex. We need to flex that championship belt real quick.
This championship belt was actually won for a fantasy league. It's really super cool. So I'll throw that up. Oh, it's upside down. Let me turn that around for those who are watching on YouTube. All-Star Fantasy Football, America's team. I wonder why you picked that name. Yeah, we got it done that year. Now let me put that down. Let me put that down. And the only reason I brought that championship belt out because we're not champions by no means, no stretch of the imagination. Are we champions? Haven't been for a while, but I wanted to flex that because, like Manny was saying earlier, every single year, and I was going to speak on this, but I was waiting till this point, but he beat me to it. But every single year so far, the NFC East has been a different champion. So I'm going to keep that, that theme. And I really do believe that this year it is Dallas's turn. But let's get it back to a fantasy context. So for a fantasy context, there are weapons all over the place. Just like we said a couple weeks ago, I was talking about Cincinnati, and I'm like, yeah, Cincinnati has these weapons all over the place. Dallas is a similar team if you're looking for weapons. Now, you have Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott's not, he's not Patrick Mahomes or anything like that. But for fantasy terms, he scores a lot. So if you're in a position where you can draft Dak Prescott later on in the draft, I'm not sure where his ADP is at, but I wouldn't go after Dak Prescott in like the first, second, or third round per se. But after that, I believe he's a viable option to be a decent starter on your fantasy squad. Now, after that, you have Tony Pollard, who I love. I think Tony Pollard is a great asset to any fantasy team. He can run the ball. He can catch the ball. He's more explosive. He should have been our starter last year. He was splitting carries with Zeke. Now, he will continue to split carries this year because I'm not sure that he's the kind of running back that they're going to give the ball 30 times, 25 times a game. He doesn't really have that in him. But he will give you lots of production, and he's really, really an explosive player. Beyond that, now you have CeeDee Lamb. You have Brandon Cooks. Okay, both these guys are going to eat. You have Gallup, who's a third wide receiver. Okay, that's a really, really good top three. All right, so these are all weapons that are at Dak Prescott's disposal. On top of that, we have a couple of tight ends. I'm not sure I'm really drafting these tight ends, though. I'll tell you what to do with these tight ends. I think these tight ends will be valuable, but what I would do is I would probably not – I wouldn't draft any of them, and I would kind of just sit and see who does what and then try to get them from the waiver wire. Okay, but you have Ferguson, you have Hendershot, and you also have the guy from Michigan. So I don't think is going to factor in that much. Schoonmaker. I would probably go after Henderson, after Hendershot or Ferguson before I would go after Schoonmaker. But he's there as well. But I mean, I've probably said enough, so I'll go ahead and let my co-host take over. There's weapons all over the place. They're going to be a top offense. They're going to score a whole bunch of points, and I'll give you my division predictions later. But I love the Cowboys from a fantasy perspective. And I hope I'm not just being a homer, but if I am, so be it.
All right.
I mean, what do you say?
What else can I say?
Manny, your perspective?
Well, I'm going to be a half homer because they do have weapons everywhere. They have Brandon Cooks. They have CeeDee Lamb. I don't think most people are going to draft Gallup, but what scares me is the coaching staff. And let me break it down to you. They said McCarthy, our great genius coach, said that he doesn't want to score as much. The reason why is so his defense can get some breaks. We don't score as much. That means let's run the ball, right? Let's ground and pound it. Tony Pollard is 210, right? Backup. Malik Davis is 200 pounds. Oh, his backup, Deuce, is 175. We don't have the meaty running back that can basically go down three downs at a time. I don't know how that's gonna play it like a factor in like CeeDee Lamb. I mean, because where you're drafting them as like last year's with Kellen Mond, where they're throwing the ball all the time. They don't want to do that. They want Dak not to kind of eliminate the turnovers. So let's run it. We don't have the running back. So that's kind of scary for me. But yes, I'm going to avoid – it's weird to say where Tony Pollard's going in the second round, I might avoid him just because of his weight. I still think we're going to – it might be crazy to me, but I think if Cook came, then it would make more sense with Mike McCarthy's like game plan, because Cook is like one of those backs that you could go down two in a row and then throw the ball, and you could kind of waste the time. And that's kind of what they want to do. I just don't think their methods are going to work. They're going to have to throw the ball. And if they start throwing the ball, then that's when CeeDee Lamb and Cooks are like top notch. If they don't, I'm a little nervous at where CeeDee is getting drafted at as a fantasy.
Now, I actually agree with you with the running backs. I think everyone on this in this group wants Tony Pollard, but I do agree with you with the fact of the height and the weight could somewhat be an issue. Malik Davis, he can ball, but just like you said, he's not exactly a world beater.
Tony Pollard
between the lines and Deuce Ferguson. Well, technically, that's why they got Ron Jones, but Ron Jones wants to be suspended, and we crapped on Ron Jones last year. It was the year before where I despised him in Tampa.
I don't like him either.
But
you know what I do like? And this is like some do not draft this guy. Okay, this is like some just football, like me being a Cowboy nerd, like me knowing our roster. But there's a fullback named Lewepke who's from North Dakota State, and I think he's going to be the guy that they're going to use on like like short yardage kind of situations. So just keep an eye out for Lewepke, but do not draft Lewepke. He's not going to help your fantasy team. This is actual football I'm talking about, which probably shouldn't even be said right now. But I like Lewepke.
Well, what scares me, this is another thing that scares me, Will, with Tony Pollard and Mike, you would know. We have a guy in the offensive lineman holding out right now, not in training camp, and he's probably our best player overall. Better than CeeDee Lamb, better than Dak. It's Zach Martin. And if he's going to hold out until we pay him, I'm not trusting anybody, Tony Pollard. I'm not trusting Dak because he is crucial to our offensive line.
Now,
Zach, I gotta say something real quick. Zach Martin is crucial to the offensive line. Personally, I don't really think now we're getting into contract stuff, but I don't think he has a lot of leverage, so I think he will be there. He might be disgruntled, but I think he'll be there. But even with that being said, I like our reserve linemen. They're not Zach Martin. They are not Zach Martin, but I do like our reserve linemen in a pinch. And I still think that Tony Pollard would be okay, in my opinion. But yeah, I mean, losing Zach Martin would hurt. But I don't think Zach Martin's going to hold out. I don't think he's willing to take the ramifications of what it would be due to his pocketbook if he did hold out. He'll be getting fined massively for every single game. So we'll see. I either think he'll be there because we worked out a new deal for him, or I think that he'll end up having to just eat the money and come back. But I do see where you're coming from. We do need Zach Martin.
Now, like I said earlier, I kind of want information about Deuce Vaughn, if you guys have any. I know I probably have to wait until preseason, but of course I'm seeing the world famous YouTube/Instagram highlights of him. And just like Manny said, he's 175. He's also 5'5". So can you guys give me any kind of information about him? He looks like a speedster. But outside of that, I don't really know too much about him. I'm likely not gonna draft him, but I would like to know any information if you have it.
I can give you a little something. I wouldn't draft him. Like I said earlier, I mean, me being a big college football buff, I watched a lot of Big 12 football, and I mean, he was a monster in the Big 12. I think I don't know if it was this year or last year, but there was one of those 2 years he led the entire league in like all-purpose yards. Wow. So he's a really, really good player. If you like Darren Sproles, then you probably will like Deuce Vaughn, but he's a gadget player. They're gonna work out a couple plays for him, and he's gonna kind of work within the couple plays that they have for him. But he's not gonna get a lot of volume. He'll be a gadget player, and every once in a while you might see Deuce Vaughn. With that being said, though, I do think Deuce Vaughn can be impactful, but he's not going to be a person who's relied upon majorly in the game plan.
Right.
What's going to be hard with him is receiving yard, like doing the screen, because the linebacker's not going to be able to keep up with him.
That's fair. And that was more so a real football question over fantasy. But good to know. Like if he's similar to a Darren Sproles, then players like those are still needed. But those would be on like not really keep them on the bench on your fantasy team relevant, but more so of a just in case, pick them up for the week if you believe that there's going to be enough points scored. So that's kind of my thought on him. So we've come down to the division predictions. I'm not sure if I really want to hear these because I have a feeling I know where everyone's going to go. But a show is a show, and I still have to do it. So that being said, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and go first because like I said, I'm pretty sure who everyone else wants to go for. So for me, 4th place Washington Commanders. I don't think there's no ands, ifs, or buts about that. But again, just like what we saw last year, just because they're last place doesn't mean that they're a bad team. Their defense could actually help them out, but I don't think that I want Sam Howell to prove me wrong as far as being a decent quarterback. And worst case, Jacoby Brissett. Third place, I am going to say the Giants. That's that strength of schedule, just like Manny was talking about, that strength of schedule. There's no way I could trust it overall. But at the same time, if they are going to be coming back doing this and that, then stat wise, the Giants may be okay. Fantasy, they should be okay. But as far as real fantasy, can't see it. Second place, Philadelphia Eagles.
Let's go.
Everyone is probably shocked and surprised.
I'm going to give you a back.
But the Philadelphia Eagles, overall, that team is incredible. There's absolutely no huge flaws in this team. And the team and if there was flaws from last year, they corrected it. However, I do believe I don't want to overuse the fact that they lost the Super Bowl last year, so this year they're not going to get in. I don't want to go. I don't want to go on that trope, but I do want to say that Philly is going to be tough to beat, but my first place team might possibly be tougher this year, and that's going to be the Dallas Cowboys. There's a lot to like about Dallas, and I know that both of you, Mike and Manny, as Dallas fans, habitually say it every year. You guys are going to the Super Bowl, but I'm not going to say Super Bowl, but I could probably say that it's going to be pretty close. I think Philly and Dallas get into the playoffs, but I think as far as division, as weird as it sounds, it might be Dallas's to lose this year. The only concern is the running backs, but show me this year, the 1 year that I'm actually saying that Dallas can win this year. Show me that you guys can actually do it. I think this is the year for you guys, and let's see it happen. So that being said, let's go ahead and go with Manny. Who do you got?
So fourth place, I got the Giants. Shocking. But the reason why I got Giants fourth in Washington third is because Washington, I believe, has a better defense. They were all hurt. You have Chase Young and Montez Sweat running against these guys tackling quarterbacks. I think Washington has a better defense. They also got a new owner. They're going to play with a pep in their step this year, a little one. But I just think they're better than the Giants. It's going to be, equal out. Like it's going to be like a last game, like third or fourth. Second place, the Eagles. I cannot say the Eagles are going to win the division. And the reason why I said it is just because, yes, I think Eagles may have more talent overall than the Cowboys. Not since 2003, 2004, there hasn't been a back-to-back champion in the NFC East. Even with all the great players that came out of all these teams, there's something that's going to happen where I think that they're not going to win it. Their schedule is very tough. I looked it up. They have a stretch. Listen to the stretch in their schedule. They have the Jets. They play the Jets at home. The Jets at home or away. Then they play the Dolphins. Then they get an easy week with the Commanders. They play the Cowboys. They play the Chiefs. They go to the Bills, or they play the Bills. Then they play the 49ers, and then they play the Cowboys again, and then they play the Seahawks. So all those were playoff teams, and that's like 6 games in a row. So I think the middle of their schedule is a lot harder than it was last year. So that's kind of scary for them. And the number one team, the Cowboys, of course. Please go get me Delvin Cook, because if we do, you're going to hear me nonstop saying we're going to win the Super Bowl. I need faith in our running back depth because Mike McCarthy wants to run the ball and keep the defense off the field, which I don't know because our defense is like amazing. So I was like, have the defense on the field. They might score more than the offense if you're on that aspect. So, but yeah, Cowboys number one. and if we could make the Super Bowl as long as we don't play the 49ers in the playoffs.
Now, you know what, real quick, I just want to mention two things real quick before Mike unexpectedly selects the Commanders to win the division. The first thing is the reason why I'm picking Dallas. One reason is just like what Manny pretty much talked about. The defense is solid, and it's difficult, I feel, for any team that faces them to actually try to figure them out. I think it's going to be a little bit more difficult for them to figure out how the Dallas defense works. And the second reason is similar to what my first reason was, but it's in the case of the Philadelphia offense. I feel that teams actually have a better read as far as what to expect with the Eagles offensively. I kind of compare it to pretty much the reasons why that the Kansas City Chiefs hasn't done a back-to-back as far as winning a championship. That's because defenses figure them out. They eventually figure them out. It's just that like teams like the Kansas City Chiefs end up rewriting and redoing everything each and every year. They're not the same offense each and every year. But I believe that in this case with Philly, it's a little bit easier to figure out what they're going to do, especially with the multiple running backs and Jalen Hurts as far as what they're going to do. Plus, they did have a very successful year last year on rushing. So wanted to point that out real quick as far as why I chose Dallas this year. Mike, just surprise me. Who do you got?
Man, you already know. I guess we're gonna make it. I guess we're gonna make it 3 for 3, and this is actually surprising to me because this is the first division where I think we've all kind of like agreed on who's gonna be the division champion. But yeah, man, I'm not gonna front. I'm not gonna backtrack from it. I'm not gonna act like I'm not gonna pick my squad. Like, and I'm not one of those Cowboy fans who picks Dallas no matter what. Like, I'm not. That's not me. But for this year, this place and time, I feel the Dallas Cowboys will win the division. These are the reasons why. The reasons why the Cowboys will win the division is number one, like you said, they're two evenly matched teams. Okay, you have Dallas, you have the Eagles. They're pretty evenly matched. However, due to the Eagles winning last year, their strength of schedule was a little bit harder than the Cowboys' strength of schedule. I think we will benefit. I think the Cowboys will benefit from that. They also have added more weapons. Last year, we were legit starting Cooper and Noah Brown as our two options at wide receiver. Not Cooper, excuse me. That's beyond that. Lamb and Noah Brown as our two options at wide receiver. Gallup was coming back from ACL injury. We have Brandon Cooks. That is a massive upgrade. I don't see how Philly is going to be able to stop CeeDee Lamb, Brandon Cooks, and Michael Gallup. They also have Jalen Tolbert, who did absolutely nothing last year, but was drafted in the third round. So if he can do anything, if he can be half the player that they thought he would be, there should be there should be opportunities for him as well. I kind of remember we had Cedric Wilson back in the day? I'm kind of looking for him to kind of fill that Cedric Wilson role. So there's weapons all over the place. Our defense is legit. I think we're going to have a top 5, probably top 3, in my opinion, but I know I'm a homer. I think they're the best defense in the league, but I'll say top 3 just to kind of put a buffer on that. Manny said earlier that Zach Martin was our best player. He very well could be, but I would counter that by saying I believe Micah Parsons is our best player, and he's on defense. He's going to be giving Jalen Hurts and all the rest of those guys hell this year with the additions of, I know Manny doesn't like it, but with Mozzie Smith in the middle, and then we, of course, have Sam Williams. Sam Williams year 2. Manny might like that, though. Sam Williams year 2, I think, will be a lot better player. We have Diggs, and no one's brought it up, but we have Diggs and Stephon Gilmore. So now we have bookend corners, okay, to go with our safeties. I just really like what we're doing. I really like what we're doing, and I feel like we'll be really, really hungry because we didn't win it last year for the same reason that Philly was probably hungry the year before that. I mean, they feed off that.
You forgot something, Mike.
What'd I forget? Who'd I forget?
Safety. Ohio State safety. We just
I did. I forgot Malik Hooker. We just re-signed Malik Hooker to a big deal. I love Malik Hooker, and I love Donovan Wilson. Even though I hate Texas A&M, I love Donovan Wilson, and he'll be back soon. I think he's a little dinged up, and he'll be back soon. So no, this defense is really, really good. Our offense should be really, really good. And like Manny said, the only question mark I think are the coaches and what they're going to decide to do. I don't know too much about Brian Schottenheimer and what he wants to do offensively. I do know that Mike McCarthy won a Super Bowl, so I'll give him that. I actually like Mike McCarthy. I know a lot of Cowboy fans don't. I think he's decent. He's had 2 12-win seasons back to back, so I think we should respect that at least. And I think Mike McCarthy's a decent coach, a lot better than Jason Garrett was. But that's what we have to think about is the coaching, and will that be better than Philadelphia's coaching? So that's what it really comes down to. But I do think the Cowboys win the division. I've been talking way too long, so I'm going to stop right now. But Cowboys win the division. I agree with Manny. I agree with Will.
This is why I pretty much decided to make Dallas last. But Schottenheimer, I think, would be the way that he coaches. I think Gallup would have a good advantage with how he coaches. So that's kind of why I'm a little bit not exactly higher than both of you guys on Michael Gallup this year, but like I feel that he may be able to help out the squad this year. So that's it. That is our first unification as far as who's winning a division, and it might be the last time. So enjoy it.
Watch us finish and laugh.
This might be the only time that we do it. So we'll.
No. I was just talking about Cowboy fans. We are. Watch us finish and laugh. Yeah. It happened to Dak the first game. Then Cooper gets hurt, and we all know Will Greer's back there. We finish and laugh.
Cooper did.
But no, I think we'll be good.
Yeah, Cooper was fine, and that was totally unexpected. If you don't believe how we felt about it, take a look at one of our very, very older episodes where Manny just went completely off. He went berserk. So that being said,
hey, Cooper's a Michigan guy, right?
He went to Lansing.
Yeah, was it like Central Michigan or something?
Catholic, Lansing Catholic Central.
Okay, yeah, he's a Michigan guy, so nothing but the best, man.
if you want to believe that. So right now, finally, it's that time once again to figure out who are we going to talk about next week. We only have 3 divisions left, y'all.
Hold on. MVPs. Michael Parsons.
Michael Parsons?
Okay. Yep, MVP.
Interesting.
You're skipping my MVP?
You know how many times we skipped MVP on these divisions?
No.
Like last week. Last week we did it just because you phoned it in pretty much. The week before, like the past couple of times, we didn't even talk about it.
I'm taking control.
But you know what? Okay, enlighten me, everybody. You said Michael Parsons. Mike, who do you got?
MVP is going to be bold. I'm saying it. I might regret saying it, but I'm going out there with it because I want it to be true. This ain't even about it's going to happen. I just want it to be true. So MVP, Dak Prescott. Let's go.
That's bold.
Will?
I like it. Who am I gonna go with? So you didn't give me time to think. I always pick someone that's not gonna be first place. So I think I'm gonna change that this time.
You could say Jalen Hurts.
That's not a bad pick.
You know what? Last year I was a huge fan of him. I drafted him in at least 3 or 4 leagues, and I want this to be a change of pace. Like Michael Parsons is kind of more of an obvious. Dak Prescott, a little bit more of an obvious. I'm doing CeeDee Lamb this year.
All right, there we go.
I like that.
Yeah. Because like I said, I was a huge fan of him last year, from where he was going, and he served well. So let's see what he does. Let's see what he does this year, and let's hope for the best. Manny,
I got one fantasy advice before we do the spin.
Go for it.
He kind of pooped on the Raiders and Devontae Adams. there's rumors that came out from reliable sources. I just want to let you guys know that during the trade deadline, Aaron Rodgers took less money so he could get some trade, so they could get some trades during the trade deadline. Key targets Devontae Adams. So don't draft Devontae Adams, but he might be trash for the Raiders. Go pick him up in a trade before the trade deadline to assume that he's going to go play with the Jets. That is a fantasy tip that could win you the league.
I like that. Let's go.
Because it's not a big rumor. It's not a big rumor, but you just go and attack Devontae Adams, get him while you can before they trade him to the Jets. And he has Aaron Rodgers.
Show me these sources when we get off. I need to see this.
Don't worry about it.
That's interesting. Like, that's fun. But caught me gun shy here. I don't know what else to say. But all right, here we go.
I like it.
We got 3 teams left. NFC South, NFC West, AFC East. So that being said, here we go.
Let's go ahead and get this South out of the way. Yes.
Ask and you shall receive.
I just want to get rid of this. Let's get that division done with because
just get it over with.
Yeah, let's get that over with.
So it's a division. It involves 4 teams. We got the Carolina Panthers. We got the Bucks. We got the Saints, and we got the Atlanta Falcons. Now, we somewhat talked about this, but there are actually a couple of players on these on these 4 teams I actually have an interest in this year, just based on value. We're not talking about it now because this isn't the episode for it. So next week, we're going to be talking about the NFC South, and that makes us just that much closer to fantasy football actually starting, to football in general starting. This week we got the full beginning of preseason football. So maybe I'll see how Deuce Vaughn actually does in a game. Maybe I'll see how these rookie quarterbacks are going to do, because one of them is not going to start. And I'm going to be bold, and Manny's not going to like it, but I think it's going to be Anthony Richardson that's not going to start. It's going to be Gardner Minshew, baby. You love it. What?
Okay.
It's interesting. Just let it marinate for a minute, and then from there, let's see what generally happens. I'm not saying that Richardson is bad. It's just that we all know Minshew mania. And NFC.
We'll like Davis Mills, everyone. We'll like Davis Mills.
Hey, no, but in your tiers, you put Richardson above C.J. Stroud, so I'm baffled. Like,
I did.
Why is he now not going to start? What happened? I mean,
I read. There's things that I've read as well. There's things that I have read that I looked into, and I didn't go on video saying that Davis Mills was better than Trevor Lawrence last year. Who was that, man?
What about the Chiefs going in last place?
What about Dallas winning last year?
Hey, man. That hurt.
It's an NFC East show. We can talk about it.
No, you're good.
We're messing around. This is what we do, everybody. But
shit.
It's it. What was that?
Nothing.
You said the Rams was winning the Super Bowl last year and beating the Chiefs. You
said do not. You didn't say who you said. You still owe me a Corvette dance.
Didn't you say the Buccaneers? Didn't you say Tampa Bay was going to be in the Super Bowl last year?
Didn't you say the Tampa Bay Buccaneers was going to go to the Super Bowl?
I didn't say that. You
said the Rams. Okay, but anyway.
Yeah. But
the Bucs at least got into the playoffs. The Bucs got into the playoffs.
Who put him in retirement? Who put Tom Brady in retirement?
What was that?
Who put Tom Brady into retirement?
That team right there.
It was a great game. Dak actually had a good game. And then there was the next week. But anyway, for the next up fantasy show, For Mike, what up? What up?
Hey, what's going on, guys? This was fun. I enjoyed it. Like I said, I had no stats or anything like that for today. Today, I wanted to be more fun, so I just had fun with my guys. Hopefully, everyone enjoyed the show. We'll be back next week to talk about the NFC South. Go ahead and get that out of the way. But no, I had a ball, guys. It was fun, and let's go Cowboys. We're gonna do it this year. I'm not gonna tell you how far I think we're gonna go. I'll save that for a later point in time. But yeah, we'll definitely win that division, and it was fun.
And you guys could tell we had fun because this is our longest episode ever.
Right.
For Manny being Manny.
I can't wait till next week so we can talk about Baker Mayfield. And that's all I'm going to say.
Oh, can I say one more thing? That's one more thing.
Go ahead.
Has nothing to do with football, but
Right.
you guys see that Spence Crawford fight? I told y'all Crawford's going.
I told y'all. I went for Crawford.
Yeah, you too. Yeah, you too. Me and Will
I
told
put money on it.
Actually, Will told y'all. Will told y'all what was gonna happen, and it happened. But now it was a fun fight, and I just wanted to say something about that. That was probably one of the most impressive fights from one fighter, because I love boxing, that I've seen in a really, really long time. So props to Crawford. Has nothing to do with fantasy football, but just wanted to get that out there.
We're a diverse squad. We are. Did you say your goodbyes, Manny?
I did. Baker
Okay.
Mayfield. Peace.
Just making sure. So this is your boy Will. So have a good night, good morning, good afternoon, whenever you guys are watching this, whenever you guys are listening. Next week, we finish up the South. NFC, let's go. Have a good night, everyone.